if you're working abroad, doing whatever you're doing, is there any advantage to remaining Canadian tax resident, even though you're abroad and you can, as for your guidance earlier, you can sever ties so that you're not Canadian tax resident? And is there an advantage to remaining so, even though you're working abroad?
So to answer that question, which is the flip side of the other question, of course, some of it is obvious and not necessarily tax related. Our healthcare system, which has its good and its bad. The good is obviously we don't pay for it. We can't be bankrupted by a serious illness. The bad is sometimes the waiting lines are really long. And of course, the COVID threw our whole system for a loop, so that we're backed up about 3 years for operations. The good thing is, though, if you're a Canadian, if you have a Canadian passport, you could always come back if, God forbid, you got sick, right? So the healthcare system, of course, is very important. Another thing that you should be aware of if you're of retirement age is your Canada pension you can take with you. It's portable, so you'll still get paid no matter where you are. But the old age security rules are different. Old age security, I think they pay it for 6 months, and then after that, there's a test, and the test is related to how long were you born in Canada? If you weren't in Canada, let's say you were here 40 years. I mean, you were only in Canada for 20 years of your age. I think if you look at a 40-year period, so if you were only here for 20 years, you would only get half of it after 6 months. So if you're dependent on your OAS, you have to take that into consideration because they claw part of it back if you become a non-resident. So that, that's, of course, the disadvantage, again, is our very high tax rates. Although the UK has pretty high tax rates, the US is, of course, much lower quite a bit lower. Although I think that's going to change. Something has to pay for all the things, for that humongous $2 trillion infrastructure bill and whatever. I imagine that US taxes will go up, but ours are over 50%. Once you make it, I think it's 125,000, and it starts to be like that. And there's a surcharge as well. I don't know if they could raise ours anymore, and since you have to work more than half the year before you can keep any of your money. But and the other major things are more subjective. We have a strong employment market. We need people. Our healthcare, which we talked about. We're a wonderful multicultural country. We have a low crime rate. Well, not so much in Toronto, but we do. We have terrific social programs. Our programs for COVID were much stronger than the US. Like that, we really supported our people. It was amazing how much support there was, and still is. And that should, these are subjective things, but still are important. We have a great education system, although it's expensive. We do have the student loans. We have natural resources. We have terrific great outdoors. The country is pretty respected. That some other countries are not so respected. Except for China doesn't like us very much right now. But other than that, everybody's it's pretty respected. We have a good reputation. Other than that, and the cons are, again, the tax rate, the health system, and we have a lot of government control here. If you don't like government control, you wouldn't like Canada. And our cost of living is pretty high. So I think that answers. There isn't. It depends. I think it depends on how old you are a lot, and why you're leaving. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of this nomad. The other thing you should be aware of when you're leaving is that the whole world is getting together to stop the tax havens, like Panama and all these places where there's no tax BVI. All the tax havens all over the world they're already reporting. There's just a few places that are left, and they're fairly being blacklisted. So you're not in the long run. I don't think the no tax things will last. I think but then again, you could always come back. They don't penalize you for coming back. They welcome you back so you can keep paying taxes here. So I think that the situation, the whole nomad situation, which is a whole, the nomad, it's like a, what do you call it? Sort of a force in the world is going to be relatively short-lived, maybe a few years. I think everybody's going to be taxed. The world is moving towards that, the G20, the G7. They're trying to block that, change it so that it's at least a minimum tax everywhere. So you should take that into consideration, when you make these kinds of changes. I can't think of anything else.
Oh no, that again, that's spot on as well, in the sense that if it is that you're looking for an opportunity to go somewhere and be zero tax. I think once you're working, and if you're doing, I guess, like manual labor, maybe that's flying under the radar. But once you're doing something substantive, then and you participating in the banking system, there's automatic exchange of information, otherwise known as the Common Reporting Standard. So governments are speaking to each other, they're trading information. And so, being out of the system it's becoming a next impossible. And to the point that the person, I guess, was looking for and asking that question, when you sever tax residence with Canada, if we understand you correctly, you would lose access to the social system and the social benefits that come with being a Canadian tax resident, and especially when we're going through uncertain times, and the level of income support and so on, it won't be available to you anymore. So it's just something to keep in mind. Yeah. So yeah, thank you for that.
Please subscribe, like, share, and comment below. Our books and upcoming event are available at htj.tax. Email us at help@htj.tax to engage us, to advise on international tax or business matters.